Amendment will defend our land with every bullet we send. We were born in the USA, land of the free, with guns in our hands. Will forever be Southern blood runs deep through our veins. We'll stand tall for America till the end of our days.
Well, hey there. I'm Sully, and as always, welcome to the Gun Club. Tonight, we're going to talk about a couple of the incidents that have gone on recently. We've got the Carmelo Anthony incident, of course, down in Frisco, Texas. We've got a few updates on that. I want to touch base on a few big things there. And then we've got the incident that occurred this week on the FSU campus down in Tallahassee, Florida. Another totally tragic incident. A lot of information coming out about it. We're going to go through, give you the facts the best I've been able to discern them from reading about 42 different articles on it and everything related. Beyond that, of course, we're going to do a little segment on our good guys and gals with guns. Generally, people like us, the average, ordinary, everyday armed citizen who uses their firearm to protect themselves, their families, their loved ones, or other people in the community. Because you know what? Sometimes you just need to be able to protect yourself. Sometimes you just need to be able to defend yourself. And as always, here we talk about those things. I think if we're going to start off talking about the Frisco update. Now, when I did the stream on it last Sunday night, I said that there was he was currently at that point being held under a $3 million under $1 million bond, and there was a bond determination hearing coming Monday morning. And if you go back and you look at that stream, I said likely that bond will be reduced significantly, and likely he'll end up, at home, ankle monitor, house arrest. Do we really think he's a flight risk? Does he have any failure to appears in his priors? If no, then chances are the judge is going to work with him and his family to some degree, to some extent. Well, gee, imagine that. Monday rolls around and he gets his bond reduced to $250,000. And beyond that, a local bail bonds place agreed to put it up for him completely, totally, so he didn't have to post a nickel. Now, honestly, a lot of people are upset about that. Now, let's go through the simple. We'll do both sides because I believe in being honest. Some people say, well, it reduced down and he killed somebody. Okay. Bond is not to be punitive, and it's not so much based on what they did or did not do, because at that point they're still considered innocent until proven guilty. Yeah, I know. Bond is to ensure their return to court. If he's 17 years old, lives with his folks locally, and has never really done that much outside of the area, it's not like he's a, international traveler from France and he's got passports and everything else and a way to flee the country. I mean, he might, but the chances of it are much, much lower. So it's enough to guarantee he returns to court. Bond is not there to punish someone. Now, the funny part of this whole thing, I noticed several activists or mouthpieces or idiots online talking about, well, he should get the same treatment that Kyle Rittenhouse got. He should be walking free. Really, Kyle Rittenhouse was held on $2 million bond. It was not reduced, and he spent over 80 days in jail, the vast majority of which in solitary confinement. Yeah. Over 80 days in jail, mostly in solitary. $2 million bond. They petitioned to get it reduced, and the court said no. Now, he should get the same treatment as Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, guess what? He'd still be in jail for about 70 more days or 68 more days. So, yeah. Don't give me that bullshit. At least if you're going to talk about something, know what you're talking about, for the love of God. His bond was reduced on Monday. I called Sunday, it likely would be. He's on an ankle monitor, he's on house arrest, and quite frankly, it's easier for the court system, for the county court system, to have him at home under house arrest than it is to have a 17-year-old in the jail, because they're still responsible for the inmate's health and welfare. If by some unfortunate chance Bubba gets a hold of this kid in the shower, they're responsible for what happened to a 17-year-old in their care, custody, and control. Honestly, if I was the sheriff, I'd be like, please reduce it down, get him out of my hair. I don't want the liability if something happens to this kid. So, there's a little truth on that. Now, we're going to go a little further. Yes, he has a Give, Send, Go account, and it's up probably over 500,000 by now. I've been looking at it. If people want to send him money, that's fine. I can think of a shit ton of better things that my money would go to than him, especially with the fact that his bond, bail bondsman paid it. Why'd he do it? Why'd he do it? Greatest advertising this guy can get. I said Sunday, this is going to be the PR case of the year. Well, guess what? Between the Next Generation Action Network and Dominique Alexander holding press conferences, whoever the bond company was, really simple. Oh, yeah, he paid for this kid's bond, and how much free advertising is he getting out of it? So that was a pure business decision. If you're one of 50 bail bonding companies in the area, and they all work at about the same thing, how do you get more business? Guess what? So that's a simple one. Now, this has the country incredibly divided. You can find a group of people out there who want young Mr. Anthony to go ride the lightning. I'm pretty sure that because he was 17 when it happened, that's not in the cards. On the other side of that coin, you can find the people who think he should be getting off completely. I'm pretty sure I don't see that one happening either. So we're just going to have to let the court system play out, let them do their job. And I will also say this. One thing we definitely need to avoid is this bullshit tribalism that has gotten so ridiculous. I posted a video in the middle of the week, and I threw it up, I think, on here yesterday. I posted it on YouTube middle of the week, and honestly, folks, I just got to say, this is not good. This is, no matter which way this works out, let's take a big picture look. We've got one 17-year-old who's deceased. We've got one 17-year-old whose life is an absolute train wreck right now. We've got family involved on both sides. This one watched his brother die. This one, if you believe what the mother's saying, and I have no reason not to, the 13-year-old daughter is afraid to leave the house because of violent death threats. Yeah, okay, they've got a $500,000 Give, Send, Go. Let's say it's $750,000. Would you honestly, and answer me honestly, would you rather your family get that check from Give, Send, Go and put your kids through all this? The possibility of your 17-year-old son going to prison for who knows how long? The possibility, even if he gets out of prison, being a marked man for life? Yeah, I don't know if that would be really good. How about your other kids? What are they thinking? How about, what's happening at mom and dad's job? I know mom, they said, was stay at home. Dad worked for a high-end car dealership and had been there for quite some time. And we're going to get into that later because someone said, oh, they bought an Escalade. If you work at a car dealership, especially a high-end one, and you've been there for any length of time, chances are a part of your compensation package is you drive something off the lot. So chances are the new Escalade that showed up in the driveway was probably a dealer car. That's the test drive special. Was, a lot loaner kind of thing. So maybe they bought it. Chances are they didn't. But again, think about what their family is going through. Would you like to, again, be on the other side? This one, they lost one son. The other one watched him pass away. And now, what do you have going on? Oh, you're getting swatted. Yeah. There's no good on either side of this that I would take 500,000 to put my kids on either side through that crap. So just take it for what it is. I know it seems like, oh, well, I can't believe he's making all this money. Before it's all said and done, the lawyers will get a bunch of it, I'm sure. Because after all, let's face it, the lawyers are the ones who write the laws, and they're the ones who are likely to make the laws out in the best favor they can get. So it is. We'll see what it is. Alrighty. Now, the threats on both sides, it needs to stop. The amping up the rhetoric on both sides, it needs to stop. You know, the threats of, well, if he gets off, this group's going to go burn the world. And if he doesn't get off, this group's going to go burn the world. Does this really make sense? Is this where we want our country to go? I don't think so. Again, I come back to, God, if one of these kids had walked away. Well, it is what it is. On to a wilder situation. For those of y'all who don't know, a couple days ago, on I believe it was Thursday, on the FSU campus in Tallahassee, Florida, the main campus, police at about noon received a report of an active shooter at the Student Union building on campus. Campus police immediately responded to the scene, unlike some of the active shooter incidents we know of, and they engaged with the shooter. They neutralized the shooter and apprehended the shooter. There was a report of multiple shooters. That's proven to be totally unfounded. It was one shooter, acted alone. No assistants, henchmen, anything else with that. By the end of this idiot's antics, there were 2 people deceased. One was actually a food staff member, the dining coordinator, and one was a visitor to the campus, also with the food service organization, Armac, who went down there and was doing something there, or Armac, or however you pronounce it. He was actually from Greenville, South Carolina, we found out, and was active in the hurricane relief here that when we got hit by Hurricane Helene a while back, in providing food to residents and people in the area of the Greenville County near Bob Jones University. Yeah, all outstanding guy. 45-year-old father of 2. These are the 2 deceased. One guy is the dining manager, and one guy is like a regional rep for the food service company. Talk about going a little bit overboard because you don't like the waffles. I don't know. But there were also, in addition, 6 victims, 6 wounded victims, 5 of them being victims, 1 being the active shooter. He was wounded by law enforcement and taken into custody. So that's kind of where that one goes. 2 deceased, 5 wounded, plus the shooter. I really don't count him in the list because, honestly, he was the only one who really had a choice about the event that day. Mary, I see you made it. Welcome, welcome. Always good to have you here on whichever platform you decide to drop in on. You're always welcome. I don't know whether Mel's going to make it today. Anyone else who's in the chat, go ahead, throw your name up. Let's say hello. We're having a nice, quickie tonight over here. I just wanted to cover this FSU before it got a little bit crazier. The shooter for FSU is a current student, so he was not an agitator or somebody who went on campus to cause a problem. He was on campus. He was a current student, had absolutely no criminal record, 20-year-old male. He is the son of, his stepmother, I should say, is a sheriff's officer in a neighboring jurisdiction. She's got 18 years of service, unblemished record. The kid was actually on that county's, they call it the Sheriff's Office Youth Advisory Council. And he actually meets with the sheriff's department and talks to them, and they deal with things of how they can reach the local kids. Where do they need to go? What can they do to better do this? He had, the sheriff said, and this is unbelievable. So even the local sheriff of the jurisdiction where his mother's worked for 18 years, and he's been on their youth advisory council for years and done training in civilian academies with them and all that good stuff. Yeah, said they couldn't believe this was happening. Okay, nice to have you here on Rumble. We always like having people here on Rumble because Rumble is our home for free speech. And although I do dual stream this to YouTube sometimes, we all know the fun and spicy ones are Go Rumble exclusive. Now, this young man, through what I've said, I don't see any red flags. I don't see any warnings. But wait, there's more. His biological mother, his stepmother is the law enforcement officer. His biological mother actually abducted him in 2015 and took him to Norway. Yes, that's right. She had picked him up for like her week of custody. She shared custody with the dad. They had split up and said that they were going down to South Florida for spring break because he was, you know, old enough for go have some spring break fun. Okay. I don't know how much spring break fun you have with mommy, but okay. Mommy takes him to Norway. Now, while he was out of the country and the father was trying to get custody back of the son because mom was not supposed to leave the country with him without court permission, yeah, guess what? Things get really interesting. Dad writes back in again 2015 that the son had significant developmental delays, had special needs, had severe mental and physical health issues, including ADHD. He required regular medication, including growth hormones. Okay, so we're starting to see that this otherwise all American kid, he had some issues. Beyond that, whatever issues his mom caused him by grabbing him and tromping off to Norway with him and changing his name to hide from the police over there, I'm sure that worked out really well, and I'm sure that hasn't done any damage to him. And I'm sure when he came back here, there was a lot of damage done on the return too. It's a damaged kid. And a lot of times we have these things come out and everyone says, oh, we need to find what his reason was or what his manifesto said. Folks, I watch and I go through a lot of these things, and sometimes you can identify a motive or you can identify a reason. On this one, you're not going to identify a reason real well. And one of the parts of that is this gentleman is not the most sane and grounded individual in the world, let's just say, based on statements from his own father. And again, this isn't him coming out and saying all this now to excuse his behavior. This is him saying this 10 years ago, saying, look, this kid needs some help and he can't get the support and help and medication, et cetera, that he needs, just gallivanting, globetrotting. And his own mother did this to him, his biological mother. So, yeah, kind of interesting. Just got to, when we hear some of these arguments about why people do certain things, it doesn't always make sense. And I think on this one, there was some really interesting comments that were made. One comment was he was in a political group or political class, and he was asked to leave this club because of his white supremacist views. He supposedly said some very gross things in class. I didn't get any specific quotes from what I found, but supposedly the white supremacy was real strong. He did make comments about, certain people possibly either ruining the neighborhood or ruining this, that, or the other. But again, it was never, on this date, he said this. Maybe he did have some white supremacist views. Then again, in the modern college campus, what does it take to be called a white supremacist? That's a fun question to ask. His mom is in law enforcement. If he's buddied up with his mom or has any, or excuse me, I should say stepmom, if he's got any relationship whatsoever with the stepmom, how about this? They said all cops are a bunch of racist assholes. And he said, no, I'm on this youth advisory committee. These guys aren't bad guys. My mom was one of those people. You're talking about her. Oh, so you back the cops? So you're a white supremacist racist? I don't know what was said. You know, did he say that we should have like a border? I mean, in this day and age, to get a college co-ed to say that, oh, you had white supremacist views, I mean, that could be pretty easy as saying, well, an MS-13 gang member who was ordered deported in 2019 shouldn't come back and get another trial. I guess that's my white supremacy coming out. Folks, you see where I'm going. I don't know, and it's hard to really pin down a quote or anything else. But the thing is, why white supremacist views shoot 2 people on campus and wound 5 others, or kill 2 and wound 5 others, doesn't really make sense. His, posts on different social media are all over the place. Some seem to be pro Orange Man, some seem to be anti, but then there's a question if he's posting things sarcastically. How about we go with this? We go with what his own father, his biological father, said about him back in 2015. He's disturbed. He has severe physical and mental health issues. He needs various medications. He needs his growth hormones. He's got developmental delays. That's all his father's words. When you start getting these clusters of symptoms, realize that for a lot of people, 1 and 1 does not make 2. 2 and 2 does not make 4. Well, why did you do this? Well, because, and their reason and their logic is totally, off the deep end. So, as far as whether he had a manifesto or unless we see something come out that really shows some thought, I don't see the logic. Again, why did you drive down the road to the store today? Well, because chickens don't have feathers. What? A lot of these people aren't going to have the greatest logic track. So, from that standpoint, again, yes, he was accused of saying gross things. What? Like facts, stats? Like, black on black crime is a much bigger problem for the African American community than, asshole cops or racist cops. Seems to make sense to me. We don't know. Now, his grandmother, and this is his mother's mother. So again, dad's got custody. Mom has abducted him once to Norway. He comes back. He's with dad and stepmom, the deputy. Grandmother, the mother's mother, has said that she hasn't talked to him in 10 years, not seen him in over a decade. They said, or she says, that they were rotten people, rotten bastard people, the dad and the stepmom. I don't know. That they taught him how to hunt, that they were bigoted people. So she knows all about this, but she hasn't seen him in over a decade. A decade, like since your daughter kidnapped him and took him out of the country. Yeah, that might be why you haven't seen him much. This kid, again, so much of this, it echoes a little bit into the Carmelo Anthony stuff. It echoes into some of this because guess what? Depending on how this plays out, this is a kid that the adults in his life have messed this kid up in the head. I don't know what dad and stepmom may have taught them or how bigoted they were per grandma, or if he said white supremacist things like, what? Did he make fun of Kamala Harris's word salads? I mean, that right there would be enough to be called a bigot in today's day and age. I can't vote for that because she's talking around every issue. I mean, again, I kind of wonder, as divided as the country is, was it really anything he said or did, or was it just, well, we're going to call him that? So we know the weapons involved, and this is where it gets really interesting. There was a handgun and a long gun involved. The long gun has been described as a shotgun. For all intents and purposes, that's what we'll assume it is. The handgun was a former service weapon, former law enforcement owned weapon that was purchased by his mother from her agency during a weapons changeover. And that is something that is very common. Many times, you know, they'll change from this model of Glock to that model of Glock, or this generation of something to, they'll go to SIGs, or they'll change calibers, or they'll decide that they're going to go from 45 to 40 Smith & Wesson or 10 millimeter because some other agency or state or FBI did something. When agencies change over their firearms, they frequently will allow their officers to purchase their old firearm for use as either a backup or a personal time weapon, anything like that, because it's something that they've become very familiar with. And also because you look, any large size law enforcement agency, what use do they have for 100, 200, 500 pistols that are used in calibers that they don't even carry anymore, or in a configuration they don't carry? It may be the same caliber, maybe. This is normal. They use that to help offset the cost of buying 2 or 3 or 500 new guns. If they can sell the old ones at $200 a piece to their officers, guess what? That helps offset. They keep stuff under budget. And the reason why I'm talking about this so much, Mom was a sworn law enforcement officer, okay? Lady had a 5-pointed star in her wallet and had a little pin. And there is no gun law in this country or any other one that would have kept her from purchasing that firearm. And the anti-gunners are already coming out saying, well, what are we going to do about these gun laws that let this happen? Well, what are we going to do about these gun laws that let this happen? What gun law are you going to put in place? That sheriff's deputies can't own firearms? The anti-gunners, and this is, to me, it's one of the most ghoulish things coming out of this. The anti-gun groups, the anti-2A groups, were fundraising, raising money, using this shooting, talking about this shooting, not raising money for victims, not raising money for the campus, not raising money for counseling, for PTSD, for anything else. No. They were raising money for their own little bank accounts, their own little coffers, within 48 hours of this shooting happening. Bunch of damn ghouls. Never let a tragedy go to waste. Yeah. David Hogg and all of his little anti-gun minions were down there stepping on the bodies of college employees. I can't say college kids because the two deceased were not college kids. They went tromping through those images because you know what? They could use it as a fundraiser. Yeah, kind of funny. Well, let's see here. Mary, yep, I agree. Everyone, come on in, say hi. It looks like we got about 5 in the chat right now. Welcome aboard. Come on out, chat with us. We don't bite, really. We don't. Let's see here. Don't think you meant to scare the boy. Is this one referring to Frisco, Texas? I'm assuming, Mary. I'm not sure. But yeah, to me, this is. Let's see. And his Hoggets, yeah. It was ugly. Seeing the ads come out about the FSU shooting and how you can donate blah 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 to March for Our Lives or this, that, or the other. You know what? If you feel the need to donate something, donate it to those families. The family up here in Greenville that just lost a 45-year-old father of 2. The other family down there who's was the dining manager. I think he was about the same age from what I heard. The people who are in the hospital counseling for students. You know what? If they really gave a damn, that's where they would go. That's where they could direct their energy. Instead of being self serving, trying to bank up their own bank account or bulk up their own bank account. Because, yeah, they don't give a damn about the students. They don't give a damn about the victims. Never let a tragedy go to waste. How much money can I make off this shooting? How much money can I make off these dead kids? Or dead adults in this case? It's disgusting. It's ghoulish. It really is. But I wouldn't expect anything less from them. I really wouldn't. And that's the sad part. There is no law that can be passed by the House, the Senate, the President, Florida, anything that would stop a law enforcement officer, active duty sworn law enforcement officer, from having access to firearms. And it should be noted that his mother is taking an immediate leave of absence. And she, again, 18 years of service, no marks on her record that we can find. You know, who knows? Again, maybe could she have stored something better? I don't know. We'll hear all that and we'll find out all that in the weeks to come. But to watch the fundraising when the bodies aren't even cold yet, I don't expect much more from some of the groups. I really don't. They have for years tried to use any incident such as this as a call to enact more laws. That being said, there were videos taken of people on the scene sitting there videotaping this guy walking around with a handgun shooting people. Okay. Well, I mean, it was in a gun-free zone. What percentage of these mass shootings keep happening in places that are soft targets, gun-free zones? I'm sorry. I have gotten to the point that, I mean, it is rare that I will go to the average gun-free zone. Now, I will say there's one exception to that, and that is if I'm going to an arena or something else where I know damn well they're scanning people at the door. If I have to get scanned at the door to the point I have to empty my pockets, take my phone out of my pocket, I have to tell them that, yes, I've got a metal belt buckle, then, okay, I can buy into that and I can say maybe, it's safe enough. But honestly, the vast majority of these gun-free zones, it wasn't gun-free for this punk. It was only gun-free for his victims. And this is where we come back to people are willing, a lot of times, they want safety, and they trade a little bit of liberty thinking they're going to get safety. Okay, we'll go along with all these gun-free zone laws. We'll trade that liberty because we'll get safety out of it. You never do. Well, maybe we'll trade a little bit more. We'll get that safety out of it. Go to New York and Chicago. They've traded all their liberty. They still don't have safety. And along the lines of that, 2 deceased, 5 wounded. Again, we're not going to count the killer because he wanted to play that game that day. But 2 deceased and 5 wounded. And this is the biggest national story. It's all over everything. You know what Chicago calls that? Thursday night. You know what Baltimore calls that? A start to the weekend. You know what some parts of New York City call that? Holy shit, they found the body. This, as bad as it is, guess what? Unfortunately, it happened. And yes, it's tragic. And I mourn for the 2 that were killed. But law enforcement on scene did a bang-up job. They took the suspect down rapidly. They did their job. And the only thing that could have taken them down any faster is civilians. And yes, gun-free zone says to criminals, you're safe here as long as it's BYO gun. Yeah, BYO weapon. Because no one's going to have one except you. And I can promise you it turns into fish in a barrel pretty damn fast, to the point that people are like videotaping it. And there is one individual who is actually seen, you can see the corner of the cup in the video, is sipping Starbucks while videotaping people on the ground dying. Now, if you can videotape another human being wounded on the ground bleeding and not do anything, we've got bigger moral decay problems in this world. You know, y'all know I lead sort of another life that sort of involves doing something medical or something from time to time, you know, little things like that. And I'm just going to say this: get with your local agencies, take a stop the bleed course, take a first aid course, take a CPR course, do something. But if you are the person who can videotape it all and not do anything about the person on the ground who is bleeding in front of you, who's been shot, our society's got bigger problems. It really, really does. Yeah. At that point, I really wonder about the morality, about the decency. It kills me, because that to me is just the most ridiculous thing in the world. And it really is, well, I'll just say this: someday that person will have a chance to sit back and understand what they done did. And it will be kind of interesting, because someone is going to realize, I just left a human being on the ground dying, but I videoed it all with my phone. Yeah, really interesting. Alrighty. For a little change of pace, let's see here. I've got to throw out big to our friends over at Blackout Coffee. For those of y'all who don't know, I typically end up getting heavily, heavily caffeinated on going into these streams, largely because of the fact that, well, we cover a lot of stuff, and I try to do it with as minimal retakes as I can. And we have got a new promo code with them. It is promo code Sully. Will save you 20% off your first order from Blackout Coffee. And again, they not only support us, they support the Second Amendment, and we greatly appreciate them as one of our sponsors. They have got all sorts of cool flavors and blends. Up there across the top is French vanilla, there's coconut caramel mocha, hazelnut cream, caramel cream, toasted coconut, Highlander grog. You know, honestly, they got more flavors than you can shake a stick at. And to me, you know, all the fruit flavors don't really do much for me. I love these specialty blends over here that support things like, oh, the Second Amendment Foundation. Or down on the bottom right, they support our brothers over at GOA, the Gun Owners of America, who fight for our freedom. They have the 1776 blend, and they have support for 2A guns and gadgets. There's a whole series of them. And again, Blackout Coffee is an American company. They support us. You can use promo code Sully, get 20% off your first order. And again, you just got to love them, because they support the 2A and we support Blackout Coffee. Not to mention that, but folks, I got to tell you, they've got damn good coffee. And so I tend to go through a lot of it around here. I actually sometimes get one of the batch of the fruit flavors, and I may bring it to work with me. I'm not all into the fruit flavors, but some of the ladies I work with tend to really, really like it. Pam, you know who you are. Yeah, they're all like, well, when are you going to get more of the blueberry crumble? When are we going to get more cinnamon French toast? And I'm like, look, I've already had to take these like last two punches off my man card to get what I got you. I'll see what I can do. But yeah, definitely Blackout Coffee. They support us. They support the 2A, and we're going to support them, because you know what? Gun control doesn't have a lot of really good friends in the business around here. And yeah, we kind of need all the help we can get sometimes. Also, as long as we're talking about it, if you want more information on anything we talk about here, we have our X or Facebook. Our locals account is where we post a lot of the legal documents, and that is, again, free access. to go down in there, check out our locals, and look at everything, our Rumble library. And if you have a specific question and you can't get me on X or Twitter or Facebook, email me at mike.southeastdefense@gmail.com. Usually I try to get back within a day or so. Just depends on how my work cycle goes, what I'm doing at work in the real world. But onwards and upwards. Folks, if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up, like, follow the stream. I know I don't always say it enough, and I should say it more, and I'm kind of a slacker about it. That's okay. Mary usually gets on me about it, or she usually just starts putting it out in the stream. That's what keeps this channel going. Honestly, I ain't making a bunch of money here. I can promise you that. I'm not becoming independently wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. On the other side of that coin, at least seeing that people like it, that people are following it, that the channel's growing, it sort of kicks me in the ass and spurs me onward to provide the next round of content. Alrighty. Now, I had mentioned we're going to dig into a little bit of good guys and gals with a gun. Stories from around the country with normal, average, everyday citizens armed, protecting themselves, their families, bystanders from the evil that lurketh around. And again, sometimes we can learn a lot from these stories. This one comes back. Well, thank you, Mary. I try to educate and inform to the best of my ability. That's all I can say. I try to, go out here and do some stuff that gives people more information, more knowledge. I think that, when we started this channel, it was very much because the old gun club, and I'm going to say, the range that I first started going to years ago up in North Carolina, what'd we do? We hung out. If you went in, you shot for a while, you looked at whatever Jeff and Don had in the case. Jeff and Don with a couple around the place. And a lot of times people would go sit next door, and of course Jeff always joked at you, you know where the coffee pot's at, don't expect me to pour you a cup. But the young kids at the time learned from the older, wiser. We learned the story of the 1911. We learned why when you hear short and fat still works, it's the 45 ACP round. You learned about the FBI shootings in Miami in the 80s. Because guess what? You learned a lot just from talking to people who have been in the firearms community for years. So I'm trying to provide that knowledge base, that information, that for whatever it is. And occasionally, a little bit of snark, a little bit of humor. Because, hell, we got to have some snark. Talking here, it was a stunning event, a gunfight inside a Miramar Walgreens store in Florida in the middle of the day. And now another stunning turn of events. The man who had been charged with murder in that February shooting has been freed. He went from jail to hugging his mom in a lawyer's office. All the charges, including homicide, manslaughter, and all the accompanying charges have been dismissed. Okay. Police say he was the victim of the shootout, but the Broward State's attorney dropped the charges because after reviewing the evidence, they determined he was justified in using a weapon in self-defense under Florida's Stand Your Ground law. Remember, know the laws of where you live and where you travel. Taylor has a concealed weapons permit, no criminal record. Taylor said when he pulled a gun, he reacted to save himself. Okay. Apparently, Anthony Souvenir was the victim of the shootout. Okay, so apparently Taylor was the bad guy of one gathering. Let's see here. Okay, I'm trying to just how to sort this out because this is one I hadn't seen the article. But apparently they're saying that Souvenir ended up dying, but he had pulled a weapon on Taylor, and so Taylor pulled his weapon and shot back. He got the first rounds off. thus revoking Souvenir's birth certificate, and they've now said that under Florida's stand your ground law is totally justified. Unfortunate that it had to happen. At that moment, it was kill or be killed. I'm just happy I'm able to be free and get back to my life, said Taylor. A lot of times it's a blurry line in what is the victim and what is the defendant. I thank God he was able to defend himself because he wouldn't be here if he wasn't. That's his wife. The initial police report said Souvenir was the aggressor. Taylor was minding his own business when Souvenir decided to pick up a fight. Yes, his name is Souvenir. I can't make this shit up. I really can't. The initial police report said Souvenir was the aggressor. Taylor was minding his own business when Souvenir tried to pick a fight. I guess he thought I was looking at his girl or something, and he told me I'm looking too hard, Taylor explained. He was all the way at the back of the store. He walked by me, said what he had to say, and then came all the way from the back of the store to the front and told me, I'm finna show you, he says. I'm gonna show you. That's when Taylor said this man he had never met in his life pulled a gun. Taylor was a high school football star at Booker T. Washington High in Miami. Also played college football at Northwest Missouri State. Now plans on finishing his bachelor's degree, but he's still traumatized. No doubt. I mean, this even if you win the fight, there will be a psychological component to it for a while. I got on the scene, and the first thing when they rolled back the windows, when they rolled the back windows down, he said, Mama, don't cry. I'm going to be okay. Apparently, he was sitting in the back of a patrol car. Taylor waived his Miranda rights and answered police questions without a lawyer, convinced that he had acted within the law. His attorney said the security camera video from inside the store corroborates Taylor's version of events, but we've not seen the video yet. Okay. Now, he's been under the weight of this charge potentially since when? February? Yeah. He had been inside a Walgreens when someone approached him, threatened him, and pulled a gun on him. Yeah, how much more clear cut can you get on that one, I think? But as we all know, you get the wrong individual in the DA's office, the wrong person who wants to do a charge. Yeah. This one's also out of Florida. Our Florida man people are really doing wonders here. A Clay County homeowner noticed a man trying to steal an AC unit from one of his windows. He grabbed his shotgun and confronted the would-be thief and held him at gunpoint until police arrived to take him in custody. Well done. And again, he held him at gunpoint. He got to the point of pulling the weapon, but he fortunately did not pull the trigger. However, it says here, incident occurred on Discovery Drive. Homeowner confronted the suspect. Suspect walked towards him. Homeowner fired a shot at the ground as a warning shot and then held the suspect. We know I'm not a fan of warning shots, but it worked out well for this guy. The bad guy went to jail. The good guy went home, and that's what we like to see generally. So, again, warning shots, playing with fire, but okay. Now, this one, really interesting. This is April 4th, and this is one of the ones I glanced at a little bit more. This is out of Wichita, Kansas. One person was critically injured following a shooting in northwest Wichita on Friday night. The Wichita PD says the shooting happened just after 9 o'clock Friday on North Rock Road. WPD said after an initial investigation at around 6:30, a 32-year-old man threatened his 33-year-old girlfriend with a knife, causing minor injuries. If you cause injuries with it, that's assaulted. Threatened with a knife, causing minor injuries. Okay. A few hours later, the man returned to the hotel, threatened hotel staff as well as his girlfriend. The woman then shot the man in self-defense, and he was taken to the hospital in critical condition. The woman was fully cooperative and was released. The man will be arrested once he's discharged from the hospital. Folks, this is, and again, Yell at me, Mary. You've got permission to yell at me for being the misogynist on this one. This is where that firearm is that ultimate equalizer. You've got this, I don't know, maybe sober as a judge, maybe manic, maybe crazy, maybe who knows what, 32-year-old man threatening a 33-year-old female with a knife. The best way for her to get out of this situation unscathed is to be able to exert somewhere between 6 and 8 pounds on a bang switch. Because honestly, if he decides to go after her with a knife, chances are, again, not knowing anything about them, law of averages tells me she's going to be giving up some weight, some muscle mass, and possibly some reach. And remember, as we've just proven in Frisco, Texas, if you can reach somebody with an edged weapon, you can revoke their birth certificate with it. That being said, let's look at this. And again, they're saying, she's released, she's cooperative, and he's going to be getting picked up. Yeah. So it's a fact of life there. But he had threatened the woman with a knife earlier in the night. Police weren't even called, even though she had minor injuries. Ladies, first of all, don't date douchebags, please. Secondly, if you do, and they start waving a knife around, I'm glad she's getting away from him, and I hope her life goes forward and do great things. He survived the shooting, so that's it, but, go from there. We've got another one here. This one's out of Fargo, North Dakota, and these are all within the month of April. They always talk about how, and we get into it in one of the legal sections one night, about how anytime a gun does something bad, because again, the guns do it. We know the person behind the trigger doesn't do it. The gun does it. Anytime a gun does something bad, it's national news. These are all since the 1st of April, folks. And in this one, we have Fargo, North Dakota. A father will not face criminal charges for a November confrontation in which he shot and wounded a man who broke into his apartment and tried to grab his 12-year-old daughter. Wow, okay. I guess if someone breaks into your apartment and tries to grab your 12-year-old daughter, revoke his birth certificate. They're ruling it was self-defense. Charges have been filed following a month-long investigation into November shooting at South Fargo Complex. The man who was shot, Peter Doyle Drager, 31, is now facing criminal charges, while the man who fired the gun will not be charged. The shooting occurred outside an apartment along 10th Street. A 60-page police report states that the shooter was protecting himself, a woman, and a preteen girl from the incident. Cass County State's Attorney Renata Seltzer said a man returning home from the mall with his 12-year-old daughter when he encountered Coyle Drager standing outside his apartment door. Coyle Drager, who did not live in the secure building, allegedly attempted to block the man and his daughter from entering their home. The father and daughter were forced to push past Coyle Drager to get inside. I don't believe there was a significant relationship between the two of them. Police say Coyle Drager then kicked in the door to the apartment and attempted to grab the 12-year-old girl. The girl and another woman inside fled to the bedroom and called 911. A physical fight between the two men followed, ending with the resident shooting Coyle Drager twice. The bullets grazed his eye and bicep. At the same time, police described his injuries as life-threatening, but he survived. The person who was ultimately shot in the case was unlawfully trying to enter the shooter's home, and the shooter, under North Dakota law, had the right to defend himself. Coyle Drager has been formally charged with burglary and criminal trespass, and an arrest warrant's been issued. Due to the pending charges, Seltzer could not provide further details on why he confronted the man, Police reports indicate the man had intervened in a dispute involving Cole Drager and another person about 2 weeks before. Cole Drager reportedly admitted he was still upset that a stranger had gotten involved. Don't get in other people's business if you can avoid it, especially not crazy whack jobs like this. Then again, if some idiot decides they're dumb enough to kick down the door and try to grab like a 12-year-old kid, and I don't have any kids, but if I had a 12-year-old that was in my custody or anyone, all I'm going to say is Mr. Drager is very, very lucky that he crossed this guy and not somebody else I know, because the fact that he's still talking and complaining is a good thing. The fact that he's still around to be charged is a good thing. We make sure we're being very careful evaluation of cases. Reached out to the man, the woman who lived in an apartment, didn't receive a response. You know, I don't know what happened in the 2 week ago incident. What I do know is that night, you come home, whatever happens outside, you get in, you close, you lock the door, and all of a sudden this jackass decides he's going to kick in your door and put hands on your child or your 12-year-old daughter. Dude, you are really having a problem here, sir. Because as far as I'm concerned, it would have been really, really easy to justify that going far worse than it did. Alrighty. That's about all the fresh ones we've got. Folks, I know we're a little bit shorter than usual tonight. I'm going back in the morning to work. If you've got any cases you want me to cover, anything you want me to jump on, let me know. We're going to be doing a couple streams during the week next week. I'm not sure what my time slots are going to be. I may be looking at trying to do these just a tad bit earlier. If that's good or bad, let me know something. Throw me something in the comments. Throw me something on X. Throw me something somewhere, because, I try my best to come up with decent topics, decent times. And I've got a few things that I've been working on. I've got a lot from the legal side. As we all know, there's a bunch of craziness going on there. But beyond that, that's about all I've got for the night. So, folks, I appreciate you coming out. Thank you much. And let's see, I think I'll just leave you with, I think probably the Trump song, because that's one of my favorite ones to close out with. It's really kind of chill. So let's see if I can pull that one out. Oh, I may not have it on this platform. Let's see. There we are. Folks, thanks for coming out. I enjoyed it. Be smart, be safe. Bye.
Up and down, counting out, smiling through the taste of blood in my own mouth. I got bruises and broken bones, but they don't know I ain't in this ring alone. I'm a fighter. No one can say that I'm a running hider. I was born to be do or dieter, a make it rider. Don't throw that towel just yet. Don't cash in that last bet, 'cause I hit harder when I'm tired. I'm a fighter. I get back up, that's what I do. I didn't soldier on this far just to lose. So take your shot, is that all you got? I'm a fighter. No one can say that I'm a running hider. I I was born to be a do-or-dyer, a make-it-rider. Don't throw that towel just yet. Don't cash in that last bet. 'Cause I hit harder when I'm tired. Yeah, I'm a fighter. Oh, no one can keep me down. They didn't know, but they know now. That I'm a fighter. No one can say that I'm a running hider. Don't cash in that last bet. Don't throw that towel just yet. I'm a fighter.